do this?
Anyone, please! Help!
Quiet, Synth. You're not talking your way out of this.
Someone, please! Help! This thing is gonna kill me! Please! Please help! I don't want to die!
I said keep your mouth shut.
You can't do this! Anyone, please! Help!
I said keep your mouth shut.
Please! You gotta help me! This guy's a synth, and he's gonna kill me and replace me and my family. Oh, God. My kids.
Don't you dare bring them up.
He's the synth, and he wants to replace me! Please! Please, you gotta believe me! You can't let that thing do this!
Hey, I'm on your side. I just need you to tell me the truth. Then maybe I can help.
You're with the Institute? Look, this guy knows I'm a synth. So just help me take care of him, all right? Otherwise, I'm gonna be in a lot of trouble.
Trust me, you're not the one that's gonna die here.
Oh, thank God.
Damn it, I'll kill you both!
Oh, no.
I was just getting
You saved me from
warmed
a
up.
whole heap of trouble when I got back to HQ. Thanks. Now I've got a mission to take care of.
In our last episode, we discovered all of the horrors of the FEV lab. Frustratingly, we can't talk to anyone in the Institute about them. We can't confront Father. We can't confront anyone. But now that we rescued the escaped synth at Libertalia, Father wants us to check back in with him for another mission. But before we do, let's talk with some of the other scientists to see if there's any other way we can help them. After all, we are now a trusted member of the Institute. We've proven ourselves, and they're more inclined to trust us with some of their sensitive missions. To start, we'll head into Advanced Systems and talk with Evan Watson, the rules book guy. I'm sure he's got something for us.
Dr. Watson.
You make a lot of trips to the surface, right? Maybe you could help me out with something. The Brotherhood of Steel has developed some impressive technology, and I think we could learn some things from them. The best place to start would be to study their design schematics, assuming you can get your hands on some.
Where can I find these schematics?
You'd probably keep them in a safe place, like a chest or locker. I'd expect guards as well.
Sounds pretty dangerous.
Probably, but it'll be well worth it. What do you say?
I'm not taking on the Brotherhood of Steel just for some blueprints.
Of course not. But, you know, if the opportunity presents itself, maybe keep an eye out. That's all I'm asking.
Sure, I can do that.
Great! We've got a lead on a small Brotherhood salvage team. That's a good place to start.
With that, we begin the Radiant quest, Appropriation. Retrieve the blueprints. These Institute Radiant quests are very much like the ones we did for the Brotherhood of Steel at the Cambridge Police Station, when we worked with Scribe Halen and Knight Rees. A Radiant quest is a repeatable quest that we can do over and over again once every day or so. There are over a dozen different locations we can be sent for this one. In this case, we are being sent to the Dartmouth Professional Building. At this point in the story, Nate is not hostile with the Brotherhood of Steel. And so when we arrive, we find them on friendly terms. In fact, they don't even notice us. They're preoccupied with finding raiders nearby. So we can safely walk inside, and we find the blueprints in a yellow wooden crate by the door to the Dartmouth Professional Building. And that's it. Quest done, and once every day we can rinse and repeat. Of course, this quest will become a little bit more difficult when/if we become hostile with the Brotherhood of Steel. With the blueprints in hand, we can head back to Advanced Systems and hand them in to Evan Watson.
I have some Brotherhood schematics for you.
Great! Can't wait to get a look at them. I guess you took a pretty big risk to bring me these. I hope I wasn't asking too much of you.
I've been in worse situations, but it's not something I'd want to do every day.
No kidding. I guess you've seen a lot of action then.
To be honest, I didn't think I'd get out of there alive.
Well, I definitely appreciate it. I'm sure these plans will be a great help.
It was a cakewalk. No problem at all.
I'm glad to hear it.
That depends. How do you plan to reward me exactly?
I wish I could, but the rules are pretty strict when it comes to allocating resources.
But if we pass the charisma check,
Well, I guess I could give you these. Just keep this between us, okay? I'm not really supposed to be handing out fusion cells. If you come across any more of these blueprints, let me know. In the meantime, I'll see what I can learn from them.
and he gives us a whopping 4 fusion cells as a reward. And man, this stickler for the rules sounded really uncomfortable to be breaking them. Next, we can head to bioscience. Remember, Clayton Holdren told us to come back to him once we were all settled in to see if he might have a job for us.
Clayton.
I'm glad you're here. I'd like to conduct an experiment, but I need some assistance with it. I believe we can improve the growth rates of our crops by using mutated cells, such as those found in supermutants. To test this theory, I'll need a tissue sample from a particularly strong supermutant. I expect I'll eventually need several such samples, but let's just start with one.
How do I obtain this tissue sample exactly?
Well, I suppose you'll just cut off some of its flesh, store it however you like, and then bring it to me. Probably best if you kill it first.
That sounds pretty dangerous.
For someone as brave and skillful as yourself, I'm sure it will be a trifle.
The hell with that. Do it yourself.
We're not fighters, we're scientists. We'd be no match for one of those creatures. I know it's a lot to ask, but please at least consider it. You might well be the only one here who can do this job.
You need a tissue sample from a strong supermutant. Got it.
That's right. Now remember, only a particularly hardy supermutant will fit the bill for this experiment. I don't need it right away, but if you do come across such a specimen, I'd be grateful if you could bring back a sample.
With that, we begin the Radiant quest, Hypothesis, collect a flesh sample, and this quest is just so bizarre, because we just learned in our last episode that supermutants came from the Institute. There's an entire lab beneath bioscience where this guy works, filled with at least 3 supermutant bodies. If he wanted a tissue sample, he could easily get one. But maybe the crink in this logic is that he did ask for a particularly hardy supermutant, and only hardy supermutants can survive in the wasteland. Maybe his experiment needs a tissue sample from a mutant that has survived for a long time in the Commonwealth to see how their tissue evolves or mutates over time. But how infuriating is it that, given this quest about supermutants, we can't talk to him about the Institute's role in creating supermutants? At any rate, this Radiant quest can send us to well over 24 different locations that are swarming with supermutants. In this case, we were sent to the Medford Memorial Hospital. This place serves as a destination for a number of Radiant quests from many different factions. But when I arrived, I found it guarded by very strong supermutants, some of whom were supermutant suiciders. After clearing as much as we can and sneaking on in, there is potentially some interesting environmental storytelling here, but there's no lore here. No holotapes, no notes, no terminals with any lore about what this hospital did before the war. But it is chocked full of supermutants, culminating in a large fight inside the operating theater.
Boo! It's a fight then! No! Look me in the eye as you die!
We find the tissue sample on the big brute that's guarding the end of dungeon steamer trunk inside the operating theater. After looting the place of its riches, which includes a copy of Massachusetts Surgical Journal issue number 16, ER Nurses Confess All, which gives us plus 2% additional limb damage, we can head back to bioscience to tell Holdren of our success.
I've got that sample you wanted.
I'll take that from you. Yes, this will do nicely. I hope those super mutants didn't give you too much trouble.
If there's nothing else?
Not at the moment. No. Thank you again for this.
Those things are monsters. I barely got out of there.
Well, if this experiment bears fruit, the risk will have been worth it.
No trouble at all.
I knew you'd be the right man for the job.
What? No reward for my efforts?
If this experiment is a success, it could bolster our food supply by as much as 3%. I'd call that pretty rewarding.
But if we pass the charisma check,
I suppose that's a fair request. I was going to take these over to the SRB, but here, you take them. You face at least as much danger as any of our coursers. It might be necessary to gather more samples. So check back with me later if you can. Again, thanks for your help. I couldn't do this without you.
and he gives us 4 stim packs if we pass the barter check. As a side note, I absolutely love the way he says experiment. Experiment. Next, we can head to robotics and check in with Alan Benet.
Hi, Doc.
Hello. If I may take a moment of your time, we're having some trouble on the surface. There's a den of those abominable feral ghouls that's been threatening one of our scavenger teams. We've had to recall the synth scavengers until the situation can be dealt with. Hopefully by you.
Do you know where these feral ghouls are coming from?
We have a pretty good idea, yes. So you'll take the mission?
I don't know. I've got a lot on my plate right now.
I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. Please. There's no one else I can turn to.
Send someone else. One of your coursers, maybe.
That's against SRB policy, unfortunately. I'm afraid you are the only option.
I'll take care of those feral ghouls for you.
I'm very grateful for your help. I have no first-hand experience with these creatures, of course, but I've heard that they can be quite vicious. They are also quite territorial, so you should prepare for a fight. Good luck.
With that, we begin the quest Pest Control Super Duper Mart. Eliminate the feral ghouls. And this is similar to the quest that we get from Knight Reese. We just have to go to a location and kill a bunch of ghouls. This Radiant quest could send us to a couple dozen different places, including locations on Mount Desert Island. In this case, we are going to the Super Duper Mart in Lexington. The Super Duper Mart is an interesting location because it actually has some Minuteman lore there. Remember, Preston Garvey told us that when he fled Quincy with the Quincy survivors, they went through Lexington.
I've been with them since Quincy. Lexington looked good for a while, but the ghouls drove us out of there.
We see evidence of them passing through Lexington in the Super Duper Mart. I covered the lore of the Super Duper Mart and exactly what happened to the Minutemen here in my video, The Super Duper Mart, A Tomb for the Minutemen, which you can watch here. But today, we're here just to kill a bunch of ghouls, and there are ghouls aplenty. There are also a lot of locked containers. It's a great place to hit if you've got the lockpicking or hacking perk. Oddly enough, we don't actually have to kill all of the ghouls here to complete the quest. Instead, there's one ghoul that's labeled. There is a quest objective tick that appears over him, and once we find him, all we have to do is kill him. Once he's dead, even if the others are still alive, our quest updates, and we can return to Alan Benet. But we're here. We might as well clear the room.
On hostile target.
Feel pain. Well, I suppose there's plenty more weather.
Law and order has prevailed.
Once done, and with the place looted, we can head back to Institute Robotics and report our success to Alan Benet.
Those feral ghouls won't be a problem anymore.
Splendid. And you hardly seem the worse for wear. Remarkable. Father said that you were a soldier. You must have been a good one.
I wish my old CO were around to hear this.
Who knows? Perhaps he became a ghoul and is out there somewhere even now.
Nothing special, just a regular grunt.
I'm in no position to argue, but you've certainly made an impression on me.
I won my share of medals.
I don't doubt it, not even a bit.
I did you a favor. So, how about you do one for me?
A favor? I'm sorry, but I don't have anything to offer you. I was led to believe you were here to help us, but perhaps I misunderstood.
But if we pass the charisma check...
Well, that seems only fair, I suppose. One of the salvage teams brought this back, and I've been trying to figure out what to do with it. Here, perhaps it will be of some use to you. Thanks to you, I can finally send that scavenger team back to the surface. Of course, there are feral ghouls hiding all over the Commonwealth. I'm sure it's only a matter of time before we have to deal with them again. If you're willing to undertake another extermination, come and see me. I can always use the help.
With that, we complete the quest, and if we pass the barter check, he gives us 10 pre-war money. However, if we play Nora as the sole survivor, this conversation is much different. He doesn't talk about our past military experience at all, and in fact, the entire dialogue tree is cut, and he simply ends the quest.
Those feral ghouls won't be a problem anymore.
Thanks to you, I can finally send that scavenger team back to the surface. Of course, there are feral ghouls hiding all over the Commonwealth. I'm sure it's only a matter of time before we have to deal with them again. If you're willing to undertake another extermination, come and see me. I can always use the help.
My bet is that they cut that dialogue tree from the female sole survivor because in it, Nate mentions his commanding officer. He talks about having previously been a grunt. They would have had to have rewritten that entire thing for a female sole survivor, so they just cut it, which robs Nora of a chance to barter for a better reward. Next, we can head to synth retention, and here have a chat with Justin Io.
My compliments on getting B592 back to us so quickly.
Dr. Ao.
If you're going to be in Diamond City anytime soon, I have a favor to ask of you. You might not be aware of it, but the city's mayor is a synth, an Institute plant. He monitors developments in the Commonwealth and compiles reports on matters of possible interest to us. Since you visit the surface more than anyone else down here, I figured you could pick up the latest report.
How do we do this without raising suspicions?
You'll meet with the mayor privately, away from prying eyes.
I don't see why not.
I'll take that as a yes.
I'm not a mailman. Send one of your robots.
I can't send a courser into Diamond City without starting a panic. And that's the last thing the mayor needs. Kellogg usually took care of this. But since he's dead, I have nobody left to ask.
That shouldn't be a problem.
Good. The mayor will be waiting in his office. He'll give you the report, and then you'll bring it back to me. Remember, discretion is vital to our operations in Diamond City, so try to keep a low profile.
Alright, it's official. Justin Io's an ass. With that, we begin the quest Political Leanings. Talk to Mayor McDonough. But what's interesting here is that Justin Io tells us that Kellogg usually took care of this mission, which means that the suspicious-looking courier, whom Piper said she saw meeting with the mayor, was Kellogg.
Trying to find out why the mayor happens to be meeting with the same suspicious-looking courier every other week. Not from any settlement I've ever heard of. And not from a caravan. Always in and out before anyone has a chance to talk to him. An errand boy from the Institute, maybe. After this article comes out, that's what everyone's gonna be asking.
Which is weird because she already knew who Kellogg was. She had seen him around Diamond City before.
I'm trying to track down a man named Kellogg.
Interesting. That's the guy who bought the house in the abandoned West Stands. Had that kid.
We got the impression when reading Mayor McDonough's terminal back during Act 2 that the mayor was expecting multiple different couriers from Mr. Io at any given time, which gives us the impression that these couriers may have been coursers. Of course, we didn't know this at the time because we didn't know who Mr. Io was, as we hadn't been to the Institute. But we just learned from Dr. Io that he never sends coursers to the Institute for fear of causing panic. He sent Kellogg. And Piper said she sees the same courier meet Mayor McDonough time and time again. So it could only have been Kellogg. But it also means that when Kellogg bought a house in Diamond City from Mayor McDonough knew that Kellogg was from the Institute. Mayor McDonough was in on this entire scheme from the very beginning. He knew Kellogg personally, having interacted with him a number of times, which means he likely knew why Kellogg was there, to lure the sole survivor to Diamond City. Which means that while we were there in his office trying to get him to give us access to Kellogg's apartment, McDonough knew that the child Sean was not our child. He was a synth, which may explain why he ultimately lets us into Kellogg's apartment if we pass a charisma check.
Please, Mayor McDonough. This man Kellogg kidnapped my son. I need to find him.
Oh, of course. I will do everything in my power to help you overcome this horrible personal tragedy. I remember Mr. Kellogg. Didn't like him myself. Paranoid. Never talked to anyone. I doubt you'll find him. But I insist you take the key to his old house. It's been abandoned, though. I'm afraid this whole thing might be fruitless.
But it doesn't explain why we have to pass a charisma check to get this information from Mayor McDonough to begin with, or why he and his guards turn hostile if he catches us stealing a key to Kellogg's apartment. Because after all, part of his entire purpose for being in Diamond City at this point was to help direct the sole survivor towards Kellogg to aid in Nate's ultimate confrontation with Kellogg, which is what Father wanted.
I won't lie. It's no coincidence your path crossed his. It seemed a fitting way to allow you, us, to have some amount of revenge.
Heading to Diamond City, we can take the elevator straight to the mayor's office. But we can't talk with Geneva about meeting the mayor. Instead, we just need to walk past her to talk with the mayor directly.
Mayor McDonough?
Welcome, welcome. Good to see you again. I trust you've been sent by our mutual friend, Mr. Io. I hope he's doing well.
You have something for me? You know why I'm here, so let's get on with it.
I like a man who gets to the point. A mayor's time is valuable, after all.
To be honest, he's a pain in the ass.
Yes, well, sometimes it's the best way to get things done.
He's fine.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it. Piper almost managed to get a hold of some compromising information. I was able to keep things out of her hands, but she's clever. I've recommended time and time again that we consider her a priority, but I understand if there are other concerns. Just let our mutual friends know that it's still a problem.
And he has a different thing to report each time we come here to do the quest, or each time we choose a different dialogue option. I'll go ahead and play all of them here.
We caught a young man painting some kind of graffiti in one of the alleys. We've since cleaned it up and dealt with the criminal, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if it was some sort of railroad propaganda. Operating here in the city is bold, even for them. Still, our mutual friends should know about this. There's a farm out there, run entirely by ghouls, if you can believe it. They might be a problem in the future. I ran on a campaign of strict, no ghouls allowed politics. When you build up a scapegoat, you need them to remain distant and scary. But ghoul settlements breed ghoul sympathizers. Let our mutual friends know we might need to give them a reason to be less friendly. Hancock. Ugh. He won't shut up about me. Every caravan that comes from Good Neighbor is loaded with hearsay and rumors about my loyalties. I keep telling our mutual friends that they need to step up our plan to deal with him. Reiterate the urgency, if you could. I've been hearing rumors about the Minutemen coming back. As far as I'm concerned, they were nothing but dangerous vigilantes. Still, they're popular with the common folk, so it's something to keep an eye on. The full details are in my report, along with some other points of interest. Here it is. Make sure that nobody sees this. Better you destroy it than let it fall into the wrong hands.
So if this shows up in public occurrences, that's bad. Got it.
Very funny.
Anything else I should know?
I think that's enough for now. When I have more, I'll let our mutual friends know.
I know how to do my job.
Of course. I'm sure that you do.
You've got nothing to worry about.
I have every confidence in you. I'll let you see yourself out. Do travel safely.
Of course, I was curious to see what would happen if we brought Piper here as a companion to complete this quest, and honestly, not a lot happens. The only thing that changes is when we talk with Mayor McDonough, he won't talk with us about Piper. He'll voice all of his other concerns, but he doesn't voice his concern about Piper. However, we can tell the sarcastic joke about public occurrences. If Piper is with us, she'll hate it when we receive the report. But otherwise, she has nothing else to say about this, despite the fact that she's observing a huge revelation that Mayor McDonough is a synth. At any rate, reading the report in our Pip-Boy, we see all of the items that he briefly talked with us about. Item 1, Piper. Piper continues to be a serious concern. The girl has demonstrated a knack for digging up secrets and could expose our relationship. What's needed here is an outside agent who can't be connected back to me. Item 2, the railroad. Still nothing substantive to report on this subject. If, as rumor suggests, they are keeping a secret headquarters in the region, then we must assume they have spies and recruiters in Diamond City. They can't stay hidden forever, Item 3, Hancock. That damn ghoul who fancies himself leader of the rabble and Goodneighbor seems bent on destroying my reputation and credibility. Travelers who come back from there are starting to get more and more suspicious. Something had better be done quickly, or the tide of public opinion could turn against me. Item 4, the Ghoul Farm. Those ghoul farmers at the Slog are trying to improve their lot in life, and it's only a matter of time before they try to get back into Diamond City. If I can't enforce my policies, I won't be mayor for long. Perhaps you can send someone to discourage their efforts? Item 5, the Minutemen. Frankly, I don't much believe it, but the rumor is that the Minutemen are reorganizing. I doubt anyone could rally a bunch of paranoid farmers and settlers after what happened the last time. I mention it only to keep you informed in case preventative measures are needed. Of note, most of these entries are all about him, all about maintaining his cover, all about getting rid of his enemies. As we learned in the terminal and SRB, the Institute doesn't really care about him. If anything, they think he's becoming a bit of a liability. But sadly, we can't tell him any of that. Also of note, that last entry on the Minutemen is there even if we don't become General of the Minutemen. Even if we don't do any of Preston Garvey's quests to recruit settlements to join the Minutemen. Heading back to Justin Io.
Unit B592 is undergoing the reclamation process as we speak. Before long, he'll be back in the workforce.
I've got the report from Diamond City.
Good. I'll take that from you. I'll let you know when I need you to pick up the next report. That's all for now.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not your errand boy, Dr. A.O.
Mm-hmm.
See you around.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't you going to offer me something in exchange for my help?
I wasn't planning on it, no. I'm sure a resourceful man like you can get what he needs without resorting to extortion. Anyway, like I said, I'll let you know when the next report's ready to be picked up.
But if we pass the charisma check...
I thought Father brought you here to help us, not to play the mercenary. I suppose I was wrong. If I have to purchase your loyalty, so be it. It's not like I have much of a choice. Here, take these. They'll probably be more useful to you than they are to me. Anyway, like I said, I'll let you know when the next report's ready to be picked up.
And we get 100 bottle caps. I just want to smack this guy in the face. Despite him saying that B592 was undergoing the reclamation process as we spoke, we don't find him in the chair down here or in any of these tubes, which is frustrating. I kind of wanted to see that process in action. Perhaps he's being reclaimed somewhere else. But we're not done here in the SRB. We can also get a Radiant quest from Alana Secord.
Alana.
I'm glad you're here. I just got some bad news, and you should probably hear it. A raider gang just hit one of our scavenger teams. The bastards captured a Gen 1 synth. Our tracking shows that it's still functioning, but we don't have the assets to spare for a rescue.
Do you have a fix on its location?
Yeah. In fact, I can upload the location to your Pip-Boy.
There's gotta be a courser nearby who can handle it.
Nothing in that area. No. At this point, it's you or it's nothing. Hopefully I can count on you to take care of this.
If raiders took that synth, it's probably spare parts by now.
Whole or in pieces, it doesn't matter. We can't allow Institute technology to remain in enemy hands.
I'll deal with those raiders.
I knew I could count on you. Take this transmitter. Give it to the synth when you find it. Report back when the raiders are gone and I'll schedule the retrieval.
And with that, we start the quest Reclamation Roadside Pines Motel. She gives us a transmitter, which looks like an interesting yellow device. Like with the other Radiant quests, this one can appear at a couple dozen different locations. All of them are inhabited by raiders. The Roadside Pines Motel isn't terribly interesting. There's not a bunch of lore there or anything. But we do find a suit of raider power armor there, if we can kill the raiders before they get into it.
What? That about takes care of that!
We also find a fusion core here and some other minor loot. We find the synth on his knees, hands bound behind his back. Oddly enough, it's a Gen 1 synth.
The Institute sent me. Take this transmitter and they'll send a courser to pick you up.
I look forward to returning to my duties.
Which you think the Institute would consider to be rather disposable. We read that terminal while exploring the Institute that they planned to phase out the Gen 1 synth, and there are so many destroyed Gen 1 synths all over the Commonwealth that if people wanted synth parts, they could get them pretty easily. Not sure why the Institute would put so much time and energy into rescuing this one. But at any rate, once the job is done and the place is looted, we can head back to the SRB and report our success to Alana Secord.
I delivered the transmitter.
Good. I'll send a courser when I can. I guess those raiders didn't know what hit them.
The synth is safe. That's all that matters.
I suppose so.
On the contrary, they were pretty well prepared.
I guess they knew we'd want that synth back. It's not the first time someone's underestimated us.
It was a slaughter. They never stood a chance.
In that case, I'm glad you're on our side.
So, what's my payment?
Aside from gratitude, I'm afraid I got nothing to offer you.
But if we pass the charisma check...
Payment? I suppose I can offer you something. Here, we can spare a few of these from the armory. I hope that's payment enough for you. The raiders are a constant threat to our scavenging operations. Unfortunately, more synths are likely to be captured. If you want to continue helping us out, check back with me and I'll let you know if we need another rescue.
With that, we complete reclamation, and we get 5 plasma grenades as a reward if we pass the charisma check. That's it for the Radiant quests here in the Institute, but that's not an end to all of the tasks that the other Institute scientists have for us. In our next episode, we'll talk with some of the other scientists to see how else we can help out. If you don't want to miss that episode, be sure to subscribe and to hit that bell notification button. I publish new Fallout videos each and every week. I've got a shirt shop with completely unique designs that you can't find anywhere else. You can find them on men's, women's, and children's sizes, and in a variety of colors. They also come on other products like mugs, posters, stickers, pillows, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in another way, consider giving me a super thanks here on YouTube. You could support me on Patreon, or you could become a YouTube member. YouTube members get little badges that appear next to their names in the comment sections of my videos, and access to Ox emojis that they can use in my video comments and in the live chats of my live streams. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with the next episode in the full story of Fallout 4.